Hi, I'm John Michael Salvador. For today's discussion, we will talk about territorial borders and conflicts. What is territory? What is a border? History of borders, cause of territorial and border conflicts, and controversial land disputes that exist to this day. Now, what is territory? Territory is an international law that means any area of the Earth's surface which is the subject of sovereign rights and interests. In simple terms, territory is where a leader or state rule over the resources, the people, and everything that exists within their jurisdiction. It can be bodies of water, anything that in their respected territory. How about border? Border, it is a part or edge of a surface or area that forms its outer boundary. The line that separates one country, state, provinces from one another. Some borders requires presentation of legal paperwork like passports and visas, or other identity documents for a persons to cross borders. To stay or work within borders, aliens or foreign persons may need special immigration documents or permits, but possession of such documents does not guarantee that the person should be allowed to cross the border. Border ay ang hangganan ng isang bansa or teritoryo, where when you cross that borderline or yung boundary without visa or permission, you can be arrested because it is a form of trespassing. And trespassing is prohibited by the law. But some countries have an exemption. Like in Israel, Filipino can travel there freely without any visa. This is because of the moral courage manifested by the late President Manuel L. Quezon, who welcomed over 1,300 Jews exiled during World War II and saved them from being persecuted. In the past, many borders were not clearly defined lines. Instead, there were often intervening areas, often claimed and fought over by both sides, sometimes called marchlands. Special cases in modern times were the Saudi Arabian-Iraqi neutral zone from 1922 to 1991 and the Saudi-Kuwaiti neutral zone from 1922 until 1970. Let's now move to territorial border. It can also be called border dispute. It is applied to cases where a limited territory is disputed by two or more states. Each contending states will publish its own maps to include the same region, which will invariably tie along adjacent to the recognized border of the competing states such as the Abyei region. While territorial dispute or conflict can also be called boundary dispute, it is a disagreement over the possession or control of land between two or more entities. Example of it is the Scarborough Shoal, Taiping Island, Sinko Island. Cause of territorial border conflicts. 1. Natural resources. One example nito is yung dispute between Philippines and China in the West Philippine Sea, na kung saan kiniklaim ng China yung jurisdiction sa West Philippine Sea dahil part daw iyon ng teritoryo nila. Second, religious indifferences. Example of this is a country with different religion like Albania, Algeria, Brazil, and also Philippines that having many diverse religion na kung saan bawat lugar sa Pilipinas ay may iba't ibang relihiyon at belief system. And doon nagkakaroon ng religious differences. Third is ethic indifferences. And last, use of inconsistent and contradicting statements. Those are causes of territorial and border conflicts. Another example of territorial and border conflicts is Canada and Denmark. These two remain engaged in a century-long conflict over the Hans Island. Hans Island is an uninhabited slab of rock measuring half of a square mile in size, located in Arctic waters of the Kennedy Channel near the two countries' northern boundaries. For this part, we will talk about the controversial land disputes that exist to this day. And first, the Tibet being an independent state, but China claiming it is an autonomous region of China. The narrative of Tibet's history proves and speaks very distinctively that Tibet has always been an independent state most of the 2,000 years back. In 1950, China invaded it after the termination of its own civil war. Let us scan the history with dates and kingdoms, which came and went. This will remove the ambiguity on its legal status. Tibet as a country would have been the 10th largest country, almost as large as Australia or even India. Next, the Republic of Cyprus and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. There are three political distinct areas on this island. The Republic of Cyprus, a member of European Union, is a state with widely international recognition. However, it only controls territory in the south. The Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus is functionally a separate country, though it received diplomatic recognition only from Turkey. Conflict between UK and Argentina over the Falkland Islands. Falkland Islands, located about 300 miles off the southern tip of Argentina, had long been claimed by the British. For the next 90 years, life on the Falkland Islands remained much unchanged, despite persistent diplomatic efforts by Argentina to regain control of the islands. In 1981, the 1,800 Falkland Islanders, mostly sheep farmers, voted in a referendum to remain British, and it seemed unlikely that the Falklands would ever revert to Argentine rule. People's Republic of China versus Republic of China or Taiwan. On December 8, 1949, the government of Republic of China moved its capital to the island of Taiwan, signaling a communist victory in Chinese Civil War, a war between Mao Zedong's communist forces over Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists and Mao being the victor. The competing governments of People's Republic of China and the Republic of China forms the basis of the so-called Two China's issue. The PRC is a communist country with an economy that mixes socialist and capitalist elements. The ROC, often just called Taiwan, is a democratic state with a capitalist economy. The Two China's issue is often called cross-strait relations. Palestine-Israel conflict. The Israeli-Palestinian conflicts date back to the end of the 19th century. In 1947, the United Nations adopted Resolution 181, known as the Partition Plan, which sought to divide the British Mandate of Palestine into Arab and Jewish state. On May 14, 1948, the State of Israel was created, sparking the first Arab-Israeli War. The war ended in 1949 with Israel's victory, but 750,000 Palestinians were displaced and their territory was divided into three parts: the State of Israel, the West Bank of the Jordan River, and the Gaza Strip. The Jews and the Arabs have fought for generations over the land of Palestine, and each believes they have the right to live there. Paracel Island Dispute. The Paracel Islands, known as the Xinxia Islands in China and the Hoang Sa Archipelago in Vietnam, is a group of more than 30 islands in the South China Sea located between the coastline of Vietnam and China. They are currently controlled by China but also claimed by Taiwan and Vietnam. The islands were the scene of naval battle between China and then South Vietnam in January 1974, after which China gained control of the entire archipelago. Gibraltar Island Dispute. The status of Gibraltar has remained a source of friction between the Spanish and British governments. Gibraltar, a British overseas territory located at the southern tip of the Iberian Peninsula, is the subject of a irredentist territorial claim by Spain. It was captured in 1704 during the War of the Spanish Succession. Iran and Iraq dispute. Mindful of Iran's weakened military in the wake of its revolution, Saddam decided on a primitive strike against Iran. On September 22, 1980, Iraqi forces launched airstrikes on Iranian air bases, following up with a ground invasion of the oil-producing border of Khuzestan. The invasion was initially successful, with Iraq capturing the city of Khorramshahr, and making other territorial gains by November. The East China Sea. The Senkaku Islands were formally claimed by Japan in 1895 and have been privately owned by series of Japanese citizens most of the past 120 years. Japan has exercised effective control over the islands since 1895. China began reassert claims over the Senkaku Islands in 1970, citing historical rights to the area. Tensions resurfaced in September 2012 when China purchased three of the disputed islands from a private owner. Each country claims to have economic rights in the exclusive economic zone of 200 neutral miles from its coast. Transnistria, an ongoing frozen conflict between Moldova and the unrecognized state of Transnistria. Its most active phase was the Transnistria War, which ended in a Russian-backed Transnistrian victory. There have been several attempts to resolve the conflict, although none of them have been successful. The conflict have been considered to start on September 2, 1990, when Transnistria made a sovereignty declaration from Moldova. For a last conflict, yung pinakalatest is yung Russia and Ukraine conflict. As many as 100,000 Russian troops have remained amassed in the Ukraine border, despite warnings from US President Joe Biden and European leaders of serious consequences should Putin move ahead with an invasion. And US intelligence findings in December estimated that Russia could begin a military offense in Ukraine as soon as early as 2022. And that's all for territorial borders and conflict. Thank you for watching.